Hey guys. Stephen Lang, Jerby, Mark, Peter Nottle, Craig, g'day. Brendan, hi. Mike from Cornwall, g'day. Stuart Hingston, g'day. Hey Maddie. Anyone else I missed? G'day. Oh, I only been home from work half hour, so live stream was a bit late being announced. It's not all that organised. It's sort of here. We're all over the place. What's everyone up to? What exciting things are happening? Hey Nigel. Busy, busy, busy. Kevin, g'day. Paul, hello. Ian Morris, g'day. Today's mug. Workshops Rail Museum, Ipswich, Queensland. Worth a look if you're up this way. What's happening? I spent some money on eBay, which I probably should have, but they were both bargains from the same seller. And they were here and they actually arrived, and I'm not sure. I guess they're bargains. So we're still learning about that. Bar of soap. This is a sponge, actually. Come as packing. Sorry, haven't tossed it out yet. As is this, which is foam packing. I've really not done very much here on the workshop. I've got problems with the lathe, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this rig, put this over here somewhere where you can see it. This is a fairly specialist mill for opticians. It's for shaping lenses to fit frames for eyeglasses. And from that point of view, it's probably a fairly useful thing or not. I don't know if it is actually, because it's half missing. But the clamp that holds the lens that you're cutting in place here should have a clamp on here with a screw, and that's all missing. So I'm not sure why that is, or what the purpose of this is. It's got a jig there with 2 pinholes to locate something. I'm not sure what that's for, but the rest of it works. Hey Andrew Baker, g'day. This has got a bit of a story attached. A friend got in touch and said, hey look, just sent a link actually and said, this is for sale, what do you think? Or get one because it's cheap. So I got one. This cost me $7 Australian with free shipping, and was here in 3 days, 4 days. So they meant it. I'm not sure why they're $7, except they brought them in and couldn't sell them, or there's no practical use for it, or it's a bit missing, or it's a design problem, or they've only half been assembled in the shop. I don't know. But for $7, which is about half the shipping costs on this, I've done okay, I think. Gosh, Craig asked some difficult questions. All the leading questions come from Craig. It's really okay. Now, for $7, it's got 2 electric motors and some pulleys and some shafts and some sort of fairly ordinary milling cutter and a collet chuck, some micrometer adjustment here. I'm not sure how that works, but it does work. And it's got to be half reasonable. Hi Matt, it's good to see you. So for $7, really it was too good to leave there. What I think, I'm still figuring this out and I'm still looking at it and thinking about it, but potentially, probably what we have here is a cam grinding machine. Is that way out? Probably got to make a new head on it. We've got to put some sort of a rod through here with some form of extra center on this end to hold a camshaft, and a center on this end, and probably some sort of index system between this system and this system so that they work together. This is thinking out loud, and it might not actually happen. It might just sit in a box until I rob it for bits. But there's potentially, I think, there's a bit of messing around to do it. But there's probably, with some potential, a cam grinder in there. What's everyone think? Thoughts? So, don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's something we can do if we run a grindstone on here. I guess they don't have to be geared together. I think this one's just got to be basically rotated at the same angle as the other one, or the same ratio as the other one. And probably you could put some form of a template on here to follow on this rail. But realistically, I think it needs a center in this end and probably an outrigger with a center in this end. And this might all need rebuilding if we did it like that. But it might be a fun project. Absolutely. Seas, g'day. What speed is the spindle? Really good question. I have 2 pages of instructions, neither of which are any use. Doesn't really tell you very much at all. It says don't get submerged it. Don't hook it up to the wrong power supply. Don't operate the machine overwork. Don't dash any parts of this machine. We reserve the right to change the information. So, don't know much about it. Not very much information. I guess the first thing might be to take this cutter out and measure the speed of the spindle. This one here does about, if we turn it on, I don't think that's running particularly quick there. I think maybe that's running, it only looks like about 400 or 500 to, it might be 1,000 RPM, but I doubt it. And this was here, probably about 3 RPM, which is awesome. So potentially it's sort of all right. But even if we've got to change some pulleys in here, or speed the motor up, or put a bit of motor on it, or do something like that, it might be potentially pretty good. It's seriously noisy though. So that come this week, and it cost me $7. So I'm pretty happy with that, I think. It comes with a very poor sort of a paintbrush that's probably got a piece of rope jammed in it. Some suction cap heads for this, which is where the template goes. So if you're copying an eyeglass to I don't know what, see, there should be another suction cap template on here. If you spend a lot of money and buy one of these, that's what it's got. They're $700 or $800, but this one doesn't have it. So I'm not real sure what the purpose of this machine is. I don't think anyone is, and that's why it was $7. But probably probably a template to follow and some sort of an outrigger for a camshaft with two centers and a bar through here, like a 20mm bar on a couple of bearings or a couple of blocks here. A couple of blocks here with the bar through here, like a piece of bright shaft or a ground shaft or something, and a head off here to match this one, so that you could set the cam up between centers there with a drive dog. Then maybe you could make it so it moves backwards and forwards. I don't know, and to grind multiple cams. I'm not sure. Still thinking about that. Don't expect anything amazing. Don't expect anything amazing anytime soon with that, but it's here and we'll have a look, and for like half the cost of the postage to get it here, it was pretty good. Now, been working on this. This is where me and Mr. Henry Greenlee Park Company. This is going to be a modified manifold for the Stewart 400. Run into problems though, because we've got lathe issues, so that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, it says 110 volts. It's got a standard 240 volt plug though, Mark, so I don't know. Beats me. Plugs in and works. Hey, Jason. We have a problem. I don't know if this is just a bearing or something else, but I've got a feeling it's something else because it's shorting out in there. It might be just a rumble. But my VFD doesn't like this at all. It's sending all sorts of error messages when I plug it in. So I'm going to upgrade this. This is my lathe motor. Hopefully this is replaced over Christmas too at some point. It's a this is only a half horsepower, which is pretty tiny, and it's done the job for quite some time, and it's not really big enough. So I'm going to put a 1 horsepower motor on it. There's room to do it. I'm going to have to drill some holes in the base plate in a different spot and some grooves or whatever, and probably going to have to bore this pulley out a bit bigger, or find a pulley with a bigger bore in it to fit the new motor. And apart from that, I'll probably move this piece that it sits in the lathe bed along a bit to line the pulley up. But apart from that, it's not a big job to change it over, so hopefully we get that sorted pretty soon. Take care, Mats. But that doesn't sound particularly healthy to me. And for some reason, the VFD's cutting out every time I start it. So I'd say the two are related. So Now, we've got a motor here. If we put a 1 horsepower on that, hey Dan, g'day. So that's where we are with that. It's also got a nasty smell to it, which I don't like very much. So I guess something's probably touching somewhere. I did pull this off just to have a look at the bearings, and they're loose in the housings too. Probably new bearings and a clean up and a look through it. You might be able to fix it, but it's cheaper nearly to buy a new one. That brings us my VFDs. I think it's a 2 horsepower, 1.5 horsepower, so it shouldn't be a problem there. It might even be a 3. I think I made got an extra good one when I did it. So this come, right? This was another bargain. Same seller. Don't know if it's really a big selling line, but I haven't really even looked at this, to be honest. But if this had a flange boss on it, this would go straight on there and make a 30-to-1 gearbox, which seriously might be quite awesome. Because I've got a bandsaw I want to restore, and that might be a good thing. But this motor's pretty crap, and I don't know if this gearbox is much better, to be honest. It might be. However, there's another reason I got this. Paddy, g'day. You're not an awning person. We know that. It's not morning, though. Okay, Craig, this gearbox was $19 free postage, like $19, less than $20 for this. There's no oil in it. It's got a plug to go in there. It's got the mounting bolts, everything there. $19. Now, my thoughts on this is that I need a worm drive for the back of the mill for the table lift. Now, this seriously might be the way to go with it. I mean, that's a pretty cheap little gearbox. It's pretty neat and would fit up nicely, and we can make a decent bracket for it and make it adjustable height-wise and all that sort of stuff. So that might be another use for this particular worm drive gearbox, is to put a crank handle on it to adjust the mill up and down. So the Centec mill needs something like that, and the Centec 2A actually had one. Very similar thing. Same seller as the other one, but we can find you a link. I'll stick it on Discord later. Absolutely, make sure you get it. But that's not a bad little gearbox, and I'm suspicious that this one will go to the mill, and probably have an extension handle here with a hand wheel, and a bracket on here to bolt on the back of the milling machine to pick up that shaft that comes through, which should be about that size, I think. So still thinking about that, but it's probably a nice neat way to do that, and I'll have to have a look at it. But probably should buy another one of these as well, just in case. But having said that, this motor with a 30-to-1 box on it is probably not all that much more expensive than just buying another one of these motors. So anyway, don't know how good it is either. It looks like it's actually got like a bronze worm wheel in there. It might be plated, but I reckon it's bronze. Might be heat treated. It's a bit ambitious. It's got a oil plug, and it comes with some very mild steel bolts, a grade 4.8 for bolting on the flange. So oh, and nuts. It comes with nuts as well. So there we go. That was this week's purchase. Very exciting. Probably this will become a decent lift for the Centec mill at some point. Don't know. Trouble is, if I make a bandsaw motor for it, I've got to restore the bandsaw, and that's a big job. And on top of that, I've got to find somewhere to put the bandsaw, which is even more difficult. Yeah, Australian seller. They were here in 3 days. Hey, Mark. Could be, yeah, could be it. I can't remember the name of the seller. But anyway, it was too good a thing to leave there, and probably there's jobs for it. Okay, don't really have it. I'm started into the next box of these 6mm by M2 by 6mm bolts. Seems to be a lot of them that I've used lately. There's out there in the market for some decent watch strap buckles. Probably nicer than this even. Be awesome to get them Australian made, but if anyone's in the market for a job, there's a couple of thousand watch buckles. Should totally hit me up. We'll talk about it. But that's a work project. Take care, Mike. Stay well. So, I seem to have been keeping fairly busy. I haven't really cleaned the workshop, and I apologise for that. The workbench looks terrible. Just bumped the camera. Put some of these tools away while I'm standing here. New video from Chirpy this week. Saw that. Couple of videos from Nigel, which is pretty awesome. Saw them. Was there a video from Matty? There probably was. Didn't see one from Machine NZ. Didn't see one from Craig. Saw one from Stephen Lang, I think. You didn't see one from me because I'm slack. Thanks, Matt. That's very helpful. Video from Rustnox. I was going to put a special mention to that. I was actually going to put that up in the description of the video so you could all watch it first, but I didn't get there. Hope you've all seen Rustnox video. Very good to see him back. Really, really appreciate him making a video. He's not feeling so bright. Oh, one from ClickSpring, yeah. Research paper I saw in British Horological Journal. It's all a bit theoretical, and it might even be a little bit too theoretical for the BHI journal, but that's just a point of view. They don't seem to be a lot of new stuff published there as far as scientific findings, but it's interesting. So really, yeah, enjoy ClickSpring's video. What else is happening? Oh, some progress here. This printer's going 24/7, and every now and again I stop and spend 10 minutes and screw some bits on this and put it back away again. So this is getting there. There's a lot of bolts in this. Now, ClickSpring doesn't meet anyone. He did meet, John Saunders met him, I think. But he's a bit picky who he spends time with, I think. He's a difficult guy to get anything out of. Not a community person, maybe, either. I feel like this one's a little bit rattly. Put shims in here because spacing on the gears wasn't exactly as good as I would have liked, to be honest. So I printed shims and put one here and one here, and just to give them a bit more clearance. Don't know if I've got it exactly right. They could be 0.1 of a millimetre thinner, I think, and maybe they will before I'm done. This front one, focus that. This has been going on for a while, Jason, but this one here's got shims as well. This is the front one, right? And it's got sort of universals or CVs or whatever in here, which is quite an interesting thing to build because we needed this spacing here is critical so that the center of this one's on the center of this one, and that makes the gears stick out a bit further into the case, so that means that it binds on this shaft here, so on the head here. And so I've shortened these drive shafts up so that these are back as far as they can go up against the bearings, and this one's here in the right spot, and got all those working. And then I had to shim these so that it fits still on the shaft in the center. So once I'd done that, I had to extend that, which is about the thickness of the two shims, something like that. It might be a fraction more, to so we didn't have so much toe in here this way. So I did that next. So basically this is all working. There's a servo in there. I bought a decent servo for this one. It's got like a track rod in there as well. How can we look at this so you can actually see it? Didn't tap any of these. They just screwed in the plastic nicely. So this goes here. It's got a radius rod down through there that bolts on the chassis there, and on the diff here. So that, or a track rod that keeps everything sort of somewhere near, but there's still plenty of travel there. These are all on swivels and universals on these rods here. And I've actually bought oil-filled shocks to go from this bolt down here in the guard, which is here, onto this one here on the back here. I think you nearly see that. This one here, you probably can't. So shocks go between this one and this one, and the same on the back. They go between this one here and this one here. So that gives us some shocks, and everything should be pretty solid once that goes in. So that's the diffs pretty well ready to go. I'm not sure about PLA for some of these bits, to be honest. These axles in particular, because they've got there's a bug just walked across there and down the bench. I don't know if anyone saw that. And repeatedly taking these wheels on and off, they're going to strip out in there. So I'd like to see these reprinted in nylon or with a captive nut in here. So maybe that'll happen at some point. But this one's got the same bar on it to keep everything in line. Shockers were going to be here today, but they're not. I might have had them on tonight and the wheels on, but I haven't. We've scratched this here. So gearbox and motor goes in here yet, and I've sort of half printed the gearbox. Well, I haven't. I've printed the case, and that's about it. This is the interior, and I've painted this. Sorry, I'm gonna fess up and say that I put a coat of brown paint on this because I wanted something that contrasted. I didn't want to buy another roll of filament, and I had some crappy old red there, so I've printed these in red filament and put a coat of paint on them, and they might get another coat of paint if they come out again. There's a battery box under here, or a switch box for the receiver and the speed control, etc, 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 and two screws here lift these seats basically off, and this flops up, and there's a space in here for a switch, so the receiver switch or the electronic speed control switch goes here. So there we go. Axles you could definitely make on the mill and the lathe without any problems at all, and to be honest, that would make a really good job of it. And once I've got them all up and running and looking good, maybe that's an option. It could easily be an option. We'll see how we go. Hey Dennis, good to see you. So that's the Landy back view. Crap. This pickup version has a tailgate that drops down. Not sure I'm going to live with that or keep with it. I'm probably, I think, going to take this out at this point. Build it into a station wagon, which is an expansion pack for, and I have those files. So this come from 3dsets.com actually. 3dsets.com. If you want to look that up at some point. He's in Czech Republic, I think, and he does some amazing design work, and this is beautiful, like a really well designed thing. But the station wagon has an enclosed roof all the way along, and it has a swing door in the back with a spare wheel on it and a window, and a lot more bits. So maybe we'll go to that when we get this built up enough to see what we're going to do. Of course, that's got a different bumper on it because it doesn't have these two hinges here, etc., etc. And just to see how it looks, I printed the other seat, so maybe we'll put the back seats in there as well. Actually goes on those two bolts that are in there for the shockers, and they actually screw into the seat. There's a floor pan that screws in here as well, or instead, if you're going to stick with the pickup, and that gives a space underneath the battery, which is really quite a good design. And the battery is captive in there when you drop the tailgate down. But I'm probably going to put a hinge door on it and put seats in it and see how we go. Anyway. So yeah, Mark, it's probably getting a hardtop upgrade. It's probably also getting a few other upgrades. If I can find the motor in Australia without going to China, which is a bit of a pain, because if I've got to go to China, it could be here before February or March, or it might not. But it's got a winch upgrade for the front. Which goes on here. And pipe rock guard. And a lot of other bits too. There's lots and lots of upgrades, but even the standard, I feel like I'm a bit past halfway. With the hardtop add-on or expansion, I'm about halfway through this build, I think. So, not spending a lot of time on it. Just every time I finish a print, it gets screwed on, and that's kind of where we're at with it. I'm currently printing front window parts. Figure for the dial for the driver is probably worth doing, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so far pretty impressed with that. Wheels go on here like this. And this is the gearbox. not sure I'm a high-powered rifle sort of person, to be honest. Feel a bit like Mark Twain with the whole dangerous animals thing here, to be honest. As you say, counts of my death are greatly exaggerated. So, this is a gearbox. There's quite a lot of shafts in here and quite a lot of bearings in it. Hopefully it all goes together nice, but these parts are all going to be delivered, sort of printed in something decent. I'm going to try a nylon, but I'm not convinced that it might be a successful outcome there. It's really difficult to see that, I know, but they're really nice prints. Brendan, yeah, printing everything myself from someone else's file. Someone else has done the hard work, and I don't mind paying them for an awesome design job. Brendan, PETG is awful stuff. Sorry. I printed one of these in PETG just to give you some sort of an idea, as I thought that might have been the way out. That's what this is. Bit stringy, and probably I could dial that out and say that I got it a bit better than that. But I think it's a bit of overkill anyway, and I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not sure how dimensionally stable it is, to be honest. It's supposed to be good, but I've never had a lot of success with it. So I gave up on that. And these are just PLA, but they're pretty decent infill too. It's got captive nuts here to bolt the front on the gearbox. And that, of course, I guess with the motor on it, because the heat will have to be something else. So I might print that in nylon as well. We'll see how we go with that. And hopefully I won't be too many months printing it, because it seems it's a bigger job than expected, to be honest. There's a lot of bits in this. PLA is a bit soft under heat. That's exactly right. Going to see how my printer handles nylon and ABS. But we'll see. So, there we go. That's the Landy project. What else has happened? Gosh, we've got a bit of brass in here to make a manifold in the lathe, but the lathe's in bits. It's been raining a lot. It's rained, I guess we've had about 12, 14 inches. I'm not sure. We might have had 20 inches, but it doesn't seem to have stopped much. And I haven't really looked yet, but we have had a lot of rain. Whole lot of rain. Hey, Randy. And g'day, Bill. You made it. I hope we're not disturbing your nap. Launches in bits. We've got a motor problem. We're putting a new motor on it at some point. That's where we're at with that. Anyone else got any exciting news? Mutant Turtles are still running. That's still a thing. Gosh, it feels like the 90s again. Golly. What else have I done? I'm working pretty hard at work. I got picked up a couple extra days a week, which is hard work. And I've been getting to work sort of 8ish, and I've been getting home at 7:30ish, so it's a fairly long day. I'll try and get out a bit earlier and run down to JK Electronics tomorrow and pick up some supplies. But at this point, it's not going to stop much before next week. Next week's Christmas, of course, or whatever you want to call it. Happy Hanukkah or Merry Christmas, or you have a blessed solstice, or whatever else you're into. They say it's 14 different holidays, so I'm not just going to say Happy Christmas. Christmas is not particularly my holiday anyway. Hey, Malcolm. So there we go. Oh, that's the bit I'm working on at the moment. These bits are coming off the printer as we speak. They're the drive shafts between the gearbox and the diff. Don't know how they'll stand up. They're 5-lobed and they're sort of that shape on their end, which is probably quite strong. But they are printed standing straight up, which I'm not sure about, because it feels like they might snap. But they probably won't, because there's probably other things that would snap first. Take care, Matt. Good to see you. Thanks heaps for that. And thanks for the heads up on that video. I'll check that out. Oh, it totally makes a difference. It makes me feel loved, Paddy. I think you should just do it because of that and no other reason. If you've got your mouse in your armchair or a mouse beside your armchair, it's easy to click. It's much easier to click like than to leave a comment, to be honest. I'm not sure that this goes very far up the rankings anyway, as far as quality YouTube cinematic content, really. Anyway, that's what we're up to. What are we doing? We're doing 50 minutes. We're doing all right. Anyone got any stupid questions? I can give stupid answers to stupid questions. Happy to. No, not really. Doesn't look like it. This bottle of Loctite's about dead, to be honest, right? This bottle of Loctite's dead, and it fell over in the corner up there, and the lid came off it and it's broken. So I can't put the lid back on it. I'm going to buy a new bottle at some point in the coming week. Probably a smaller bottle than that, because that was a waste of money, to be honest. But it was all I could get at the time. But it's pretty crappy. It works better with the lid off it than the lid off it because it's anaerobic. And it only works when you deprive it of air. I believe that's how Loctite works. But anyway, I'm not sure the lid does much. But I might be wrong. I might be completely out of it. Like, completely different. Different track entirely. I bought this a while back. I'm only getting half the comments for some reason. Don't know. Now I'm only getting like half Maddie's comments. Hopefully it wouldn't. We're looking for someone's waiting to see Maddie's something. So whatever Maddie's making. What's the hand wheel for? The mill. Yeah. Thoughts are, if we take this flange off here, which shouldn't be very difficult, right? We've got a little 30-to-1 gearbox, which we should be able to make a plate for to sit on the back of the mill, where it's got a lever for lifting the table up and down. And the and shaft out here of some sort with some sort of outer casing on it, a couple of bearings to keep the dust and dirt out, and a hand wheel on it, so that when we turn the hand wheel, it turns the shaft here and lifts the table. That's the thoughts behind this. That's really why I bought this. We'll see if it actually works. But that might be a project that you see reasonably soon. Now I've got some bits. If I take the look at the mill and see what we need to actually make it work. Flange incorporates 2 seals. Thanks for sharing that. Not sure I really needed to know that, but you could be right. Let's pull it apart and find out. How are we feeling about that? It's not that. That's not the one. Whoa! Maybe. Don't know if that's a good thing to do or not. They're pretty tight. Oh. I've dropped the handle on my foot. Yeah, it's got a seal there. The bearings are in the housing. It wouldn't be particularly difficult to make a housing to stick out to support the hand wheel with a couple of bearings in it and incorporate this seal back into it. I don't think that'd be a difficult thing at all. That might be what happens. But yeah, there's a seal in there, which is probably quite a well-made thing, actually, that gearbox, by the look of it. Someone's obviously had this apart before. Yeah, don't get me started on this one, Nigel. Please. They do fluctuate on that international markets, but that's not the reason. The reason is that different purchasers get different discounts. If you're a particularly savvy buyer who buys quite a lot of stock, it's competitive enough market to be able to negotiate a pretty decent discount. I know at work that we buy more watch parts than nearly anyone in Queensland, to be honest, from one supplier, and our discount is, you got to log in to get the prices and everything, because I believe our discount's quite a lot more sharp than some other people's. That's just the way it is, and it's the same with steel suppliers. Your retail price, if they actually have a retail price or off-the-shelf price, is going to be substantially more, because they'll have a minimum sale and they won't want to give you the price unless you meet that minimum sale. So if you buy a length of RHS, it's probably going to be the same price as if you buy 2 bits of 4140 100 mil long, because that is sort of the minimum sale price, and unfortunately that's how it is. So you need to hit up the small sellers for shorter lengths, and if you want to buy, there are some exceptions. In Bowler Home or ASAB Steels, as they used to be, they seem to be pretty good like that. They'll actually sell off the shore or off the shelf at a decent price, but their website hasn't got any prices on either. You've got to go in and be a little bit personable to get a reasonable price. So that's where I'm at with it. But I mean, if you're only buying a foot length of shafting every month, you're probably going to get a different price than someone who's buying like 56 meter lengths a month of the same material, because it shouldn't be like that, but it is. And that's one of those things that do help to make manufacturing a little bit competitive, I believe, sort of. But it doesn't do you any favours, and if you negotiated a better price, you might get it too. But I know of instances where someone sent some packaging on a box of supplies that was actually shredded invoices for another company, and someone put them together and discovered the actual prices that the other company was paying, and kicked up because they were direct opposition, and negotiated a better deal that way. But there's not a lot of ethics in sales, unfortunately. Yeah, and being a bit friendly too, Craig. I mean, you go in and you talk to people, get to know people, and spend some time with people. You get a much better price than if you're just buying stuff on the website and getting it mailed out and ringing up and complaining when it doesn't actually arrive. So my advice in Australia especially is to find a supplier, like a proper mainstream supplier, and go in and see them and say hello, because that's what's going to get you the best results and the best range at the best price. And from that point, they will look after you a bit, but until they get another staff member who doesn't know you. That's exactly right. Looking at screws, I bought, what did I buy? These are 25 by 3 mm M3 by 25 screws. I bought 20 of them, something like that. They cost me $4. These are M3 by 12. There's 100 in the box. I think the box cost me $10.50, something like that. So exactly the same thing, except that I bought 20 there and I bought 5 times as many here for about twice the price, 2.5 times the price. So that makes sense. I spent $65 on bolts. Sorry, excuse me. As a Boxer M3 by 12, Boxer M2 by 8, and what's left of a box of M2 by 6. And these ones worked out to $61. No, it wasn't even that much. It was $55, I think, for the 3 boxes, because I got a heap the other day and they didn't charge me for them until this invoice. So I probably have an invoice somewhere. Got no idea where. Got it. Found it. Let's have a look. Boxer 100 2x8s was $20. Boxer 100 2x8s was $25. The 2x6s were $20. The 3x12s were $10. And 3x6s, 3x16s, and 3x20s, there was about 40 bolts there, were like $4.50, something like that. And there's tax on that, plus $4 for these, was $65.70. So the cheap way is to buy boxes or to buy a length of steel, but it's difficult to cart it and it's difficult to know how to do it. Phone number's now public. Yeah, give us a call. Unlikely to ever answer it, but send me a message or text me. That's cool. But yeah, that's the gear. If you've got someone like ASAB, and that's where Bowler Idaho or ASAB are really good like that in Australia, because they have got a box of offcuts, because they cut to length, and they'll have a carton or a tray of a box of offcuts that go for scrap every now and again. If you go and fish around in them, they'll sell it to you at the right price, and you might find some bits that some drops that actually work for you. So it's worth taking $100 in there and on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock and saying, I need some of this and I need some of this. What do you got in an offcut box? If you do that twice a month, probably they're going to get to know you a bit and look after you and save stuff for you. So there we go. I think that's workable on the mill. I'm really sort of looking forward to that. We're going to have to make some sort of a system because that's got a tapered shaft sticks out. So it's going to need an adapter that bolts on the actual milling machine. That this will bolt on afterwards somehow because these bolts are actually tapped in here. So have to think about that. And I think this needs some sort of a swivel system as well, so that we can actually put this up at the right angle that's comfortable, or put it down or wherever. And I'm just thinking about this, and I think probably an aluminium piece on here with the shaft in it and the hand wheel, and that might be a very easy way to attack this. I'm not going to put any graduations or anything on it, so the ratio is not important, because I've got a DRO, so really it's irrelevant. So that's where we're at. Interesting. Exciting. Very exciting. Hey, Rusnux. Good to see ya. Don't be sorry to be too late. It's good to see you even for 5 minutes. We don't want to tire you out because I know you're feeling poorly probably. So good to see a new video this week from Rusnox. You should go and check that out. Another thing that really works, and you've got to be a bit tactful about it, but buying steel, if you're there Friday afternoon and you've got an open carton on the back seat from that you're taking home for the weekend, and someone helps you carry something out to the car, it's not a bad idea to say, hey, look, you want a can? You know, here's a couple of can for everyone when you knock off. That kind of works more than cash even. That's a pretty awesome thing to do if you're diplomatic about it. I mean, it's no good dropping a carton on the counter because that kind of doesn't look good with management. But there are ways around that, and it's not a bad idea if there's an opportunity to act on it, you know. There we go. There's Emma's version of how to win friends and influence people. Anyway, I think I've got to be at work at like 7:30 or something in the morning. And not only that, I mean, that leads to other things. I think you do that every now and again, and you can talk it around to, you know, what do you actually drink? And if they're all drinking, you know, alcoholic cider and Pims, a carton of 4X isn't going to do you much good. But in the long run, listening to what they actually do drink and finding them something occasionally when they do you a favour, kind of makes people remember you. And that's a fair point. Watch Stefan actually on numbering stock and actually stamping the ends of it, which seems like a really good idea. Probably more work than I'm really ever going to take on. But that's the trouble, is that I've got a cupboard full of shorts that I really haven't got a clue what they are, and you write on them with texture and it doesn't last. So short of a shelf of spray cans with your own like numbering system or identification system on a chart, it's a little bit difficult to actually keep on top of that, because every manufacturer's paint identification is actually a bit different. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're better off to write what it is, or if you're Stefan, it's the ISO codes, which is a bit more complicated. You've got to remember them all. If that's the system you work with, that's the system you work with, I guess. Anyway, that's what's up. I'm a bit excited about this now, but I'm not going to start it until, at least until I got the lathe running, and probably until I've got the 400 running. But I'm going to probably sketch up some bits and draw up some bits and see what we actually end up with. Draw up this gearbox, or see if I can find one to download to my CAD software, and work out some sort of an adapter for the back of the mill, and off the extension here to get past the side of the mill so we can put a hand wheel on it. Probably I'd like a bigger hand wheel too. This one here is probably a bit small. I bought it because it was said it was a 5-inch hand wheel, but 5 inches is a bit sort of, it's nowhere near that big. And to be honest, probably a bigger wheel would be much easier. I want something about 8 inches or 9 inches, as far as hand wheels go anyway. Anyway, I'm about done. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I hope everyone's feeling okay. Thinking about your rust knocks. Good to see you all turn up. Really awesome to catch up with everyone. Yeah, Russell, good to see you. We've still got one more before Christmas, or whatever you're going to call it. It's after Christmas if you're pagan, because I think the solstice is the 21st. And hopefully I'll have some results on some of this stuff for a little bit of sort of actually have some bits that work, rather than having everything in bits here everywhere, like the lathe and the Land Rover and the mill gearbox and the Stewart 400 and everything. It just, list goes on. So take care, be good, be kind to each other, especially to me, and I'll see if I can find that link, and I'll put it on Discord anyway. I might text it to you, Matty. Anyone else is interested, send me an email. And I'll catch you next week, but have a great one and look forward to seeing some YouTube content from everyone. I'm out.